Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for attending our webinar. We truly appreciate you taking the time to join us. Our webinar series called Unlocking College Admission aimed to provide valuable insights into the college application process. We'll be meeting bi-weekly to cover different topics related to college applications and admissions. Our goal is to help you navigate the complexity of admissions, answer your concerns or maybe anxieties, and provide you with necessary information to make informed decisions. We hope that through those webinars, you will gain a better understanding of the college application and admission process. I'm Katya.
I'm Emily. We're going to start by introducing ourselves.
Yeah. So again, I'm Katya. Over the past decade, I have worked at both public and private universities, as well as an international education research institute called World Education Services. I'm a member of Higher Education Consultant Association, International Association College Admission Counseling, and Pennsylvania Association of College Admission Counseling. Those are long-term, but I have to say the full name just to show my credibility. So I understand admission from an insider's perspective.
My name is Emily. I have been working full-time in admissions for the last 5 years since I graduated from Brown. I do writing. That's my specialty. So my education is in writing, and I work with students to help them write not just really good essays, but really good college admissions essays. So they're sharing their story with admissions offices and letting their own unique traits stand out. Let's go ahead and get started. Our very first question, why do extracurriculars matter?
Yeah, why do they matter? So I'm going to show you an image, this screenshot. This is a common data set from Stanford University. This form shows admission officers' weight on various factors when they conduct holistic evaluation. And as you can see, under very important column, you can see under non-academic, extracurricular activities marked as very important. That's a direct reason why activities matter. Also, activity determine talent and ability as a very important mark in the form as well. And activity contribute to your personal qualities as well, and it's also marked as very important. I'm sure it's related to essay as well, Emily.
Absolutely. When you write an essay for colleges, you want to show what you've done and how you contribute to a community. It is really hard to do that if you do not have any extracurricular involvement. So the best way to really demonstrate that you give back and that you are excited about what you do is to write about it in an essay. So often students who don't do extracurriculars have a very hard time writing good essays. So,
yeah. So let's talk about myths and misconceptions about activities and about extracurricular activities. Well, before we start, I actually did a survey. Maybe we can start from there. Okay, the first one. Do you agree with the statement doing activities help with application? Yes or no? This is the first question. Great, 50-50. Awesome. So let's look at the second one.
That is a very even split. I am surprised that not everyone agrees.
Yeah. And do you believe there are called good activities and bad activities? Yes or no? All right, let's look at the next one. How many of you have been doing sort of activities regularly in your mind? Whatever definition of activity you think, how many of you have been doing kind of activity regularly?
And we're going to define activities in a moment. So if you don't know if what you're doing counts, don't worry. We're going to get to that.
That's a quite even split as well. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for attending our survey. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint as well. So how do we define activities? When we say activities, usually it means summer programs, school clubs, independent studies, research projects, capstone as well, and competitions. Anything I missed, Emily?
Yeah, so everything Katya said can count. Other things that count as extracurricular activities can include a job, if you work a part-time job, or family responsibility. Or babysitting your little sister and taking her home from school every day. That is a really important activity. Same if you are helping your parents translate, for example. Finally, another activity can even be a hobby if you spend a lot of time on it and you're doing it regularly and you're improving in it. That can be an activity. Volunteering can be an activity. There are so many things that can be activities. So it's a very broad category.
Exactly. So let's do the next one. How many activities should I do? That's a very common question as well. What do you think, Emily?
So I think that quality over quantity is most important. It is better to have a couple activities that you spend time on, that you care about, than it is to have 20 activities that you really don't do much for and that don't have an impact. What do you think, Katya?
I agree. I always tell students less is more. I always encourage them choose one or two things you are really good at and keep doing it and try to achieve something, have some outcomes. Because you will need to show your passion, persistence, and achievements. That's three factors admission officers will look at. And of course, we will elaborate that part later when we talk about what kind of activities admission officers look at. But that's my suggestion. One or two things you're really good at and keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the next question, when should I start? Is it too late to start if I'm in, I don't know what grade? Is it too early? So what do you think, Katya? When is it a good time to start exploring extracurriculars?
Yeah, I call 9th and the 10th grade as exploration period. Means you can try different things, allow you to experience and try out different interests. It also means to understand yourself because a lot of students, they really don't have a big chunk of time like doing self-reflection, thinking about, like what I'm interested in, what do I want to study, or what do I want to do in the future as a career, or am I introvert or extrovert? Do I enjoy socializing or prefer being alone? This is doing activity during the exploration period actually is a great time for you to discover yourself. That's why I say, the whole application process is self-discovery process as well. Then in the 10th grade, I suggest to narrowing down the number of activities and go deeper. And then when you enter the junior year, you really need to think about if you have one or two things that make you stand out. Because top colleges usually would look at the last 2 years at least. So I suggest at least do something in the last 2 summers. What do you think?
I completely agree. I think especially in 9th grade, you shouldn't feel pressured to stick with something if you don't really love it, but use that time to explore what you want. And when you find things that you like, show that you're committed to it and keep doing it, keep investing in it. So let's go on to the next question. It is a big one. People ask me this all the time, and it is, what activities do admissions officers like? What do admissions officers do for? Katya, former admissions officer, I would love to hear your take on this. What types of activities do you like?
Yeah, as a former admission officer, when I read, when I was working in admission, when I read students' applications, it's very easy to tell if it's a genuine or not genuine. So the first quality admission officer would look at is genuine. authenticity. Those are very important keywords. And overall, I think activities need to fit the application theme. Application theme means what kind of image or label you want to present in front of admissions officers. You will need to be able to summarize yourself in 1 or 2 sentences, or maybe within one minute. That's called your application theme. If we think application as a jigsaw puzzle, right, then the theme is kind of a whole picture. And your essays, activities, everything else are puzzle pieces. So your activities need to be matched with your theme. Also need to make sense, need to be logical, genuine, and authentic. What do you think, Emily?
I agree. So when I work with students, if I have a student who has all these activities related to business, and then they are in a literature club, I'm confused. I don't really understand what's going on with that. And maybe that's something that can be explained in an essay or at some other point, but it doesn't present a clear picture. And same if it's the other way around. And you definitely don't need to know exactly what you're interested in and just do that, but you want to try and keep your activities intentional as opposed to random in a bunch of different areas.
And I'm sure, we've been talking about all the concepts and different factors. It sounds a bit vague. So I'm going to, tell you some kind of direction that may be helpful for you to really start planning, make things more structured and easier to navigate. So I'm going to introduce 5 qualities that admission officers look at when they look at your activities. The first one is drive. It means the willingness to push oneself beyond comfort zones, even it requires significant time and effort. Individuals with this quality are willing to overcome challenges, achieve goals, and become better themselves. What do you think, Emily?
Absolutely. And some indications of this would be if they are in a volunteer club, for example, if they plan a fundraising event that doesn't do super well, do they say, okay, I'm giving up? Or do they keep trying and learn from their mistakes to plan a better fundraising event? Similarly, can they handle a difficult course load and their activity?
The second one is intellectual curiosity. The key word here is intellectual. It means a strong desire for learning and knowledge. 2 keywords, learning and knowledge. This is evident when someone delves deeply into a subject or research area, investing time and energy without reservation. Actually, one of the common applicant essays is about intellectual curiosity. I think the problem is, what do you like? You lose your track of time. That's kind of, a promote asking about intellectual curiosity. So you can see how important, how much admission officers care about this quality. What do you think, Emily?
Absolutely. And one really common essay prompt, even beyond the common application personal statement, is supplemental essays that ask students, why are you interested in studying the major that you want to study, or your intended course of study, or whatever it is? Having activities that relate to that gives you something to talk about.
Yeah. The third one is initiative. It means the ability to take action independently without the need for constant promoting. Individuals with initiative proactively put their plans into motion. So, the initiative has some similarity with drive, but they emphasize different qualities. Initiative means, you can take action by yourself without anyone else to ask you to do so. Drive is the willingness to push yourself out of comfort zone. So there are differences. Do you want anything else, Emily?
Yeah, you can think of drive as persistence, and you can think of initiative as independence, if that helps.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's such a straightforward and a simple explanation. The next one is contribution. It means your willingness to selflessly contribute to one's community and the groups. So there is a difference between contribution and achievements. Contribution means you're selfless. You don't care about awards or honor. You just do things. You think this is something right to do. So it's different from say awards or honor or anything sort of like that. What do you think, Emily?
Absolutely. And I think the key thing you can ask yourself, I get a lot of questions from students who say, well, how can I have my activities be contribution if it's not volunteering? But a lot of things that you do contribute to the community in some way. If you're on a sports team, what is your leadership style? Do you mentor younger players? Do you help represent your school? That's contribution in another form.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. Even you haven't achieved anything, like I contribute to my community. I volunteer at church, or any in my school or after school program. I spend the time and put in effort. Even you haven't achieved anything so-called like receive any award or honor, that's fine. That's contribution as well, because you're put time and effort into something without gaining anything back, and that shows your selflessness. That's a key point in terms of contribution.
Absolutely.
So
that goes back to what Katya was saying earlier about how your activities can help admissions officers learn more about your personal qualities and your character.
Yeah, exactly. That showcases your personal quality for sure. And I also, when I attend a annual conference, and I always talk with admission officers at top colleges like Yale, Stanford. I ask them, what kind of students you're really looking for, right? And they said, well, we like students, this type of student, interesting people doing interesting things. That kind of showcase the whole thing, right? Like they want someone genuine, interesting, and doing something in a genuine, interesting way. That's probably one comment I want to add as well. So let's dive into the last quality, diversity experiences. Well, this is pretty straightforward, right? It means unique and varied life and learning experiences, including having a well-rounded background, different perspectives, different culture background, ethnic background, so on and so forth. What do you think, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd encourage you to think about how your activities can fall under that category, even if they're not something you would think of as cultural necessarily. If you're doing different things and learning different skills, that could even be an example of that. Or if you're in a position where you're interacting with different people from different backgrounds, that's an example of that as well.
Yeah, and this reminds me your specialty, Emily, the essays. I'm sure there are a lot of. There is a main essay, the personal essay, asking about diversity experience. I think the number one, the first, the unique, the special background. That's kind of it falls in this category, the diversity experiences, and sub essay. Like pretty much every college, where it has sub essay, would ask at least one essay to write about the background, the personal background.
Absolutely. Colleges want to know about that, and you can help show some of that through your activities, whether it's volunteering at your church, as Katya mentioned, or maybe you are helping other kids from your community by tutoring, or maybe you're just in a club but you're spreading awareness. There's not just one way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And actually, I think that's important to emphasize, because when we talk about diversity experiences, students tend to fall into a trap that, this is about culture, this is about ethnicity, this is about race. But actually, there are so many more layers in terms of diversity, right? As you said, the neighborhood, the personal experience. Even just a club or any like a group that can be considered as diversity experience as well. I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. So we wanted to put some terms for you: well-rounded versus one or two edges. Some people call them spikes or hooks. But Katya, what does it mean to be well-rounded versus to have one or two edges?
Yeah. So what does well-rounded mean? In my opinion, it means a student has done different things in various categories. One or two edges mean a student is really good at one or two things and go really deep. I think the key for the well-rounded is to have a logical connection among activities. As I mentioned, your activity need to make sense, and they will need to have a logical connection. The key for one or two edges is to really achieve something. Well, we can elaborate though the different ways to examples. But before that, Emily, what do you think?
I absolutely agree. And I get this question a lot about what's better. And I don't know if there's necessarily that's better. I think it depends a lot on your personality and what you have explored. And as you're going to see in I2 case studies, you can still do really well in admissions, whether you're well-rounded or have one or two activities, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah, let's dive into the case study. This is one or two edges student. He was admitted by Cambridge and Georgia Tech. And below is the list of his activities. As you can see, he did everything related to mechanical engineering. Zero Robotics World Championship, that's a robotic competition. And he received a world champion in that year at MIT. And he also attended AMY. It's a math competition, and he is an AMY qualifier. He also attended Princeton mathematics competition. That's another math competition. Actually, it's a high-level math competition hosted at Princeton University annually. And then the next one is First Tech Challenge Team. That's a mechanical engineering competition. And next one is he did research at Princeton International School Engineering Center as a student researcher. That's related to mechanical engineering. And the last one, ATV design, that's mechanical engineering. It's like a robotics design. It's related to mechanical engineering as well. So as you can see, from his activity list, everything is related to mechanical engineering. And that's a major he applied as well. So this is called one or two edges. As I mentioned earlier, the key for this, like a theme is, or this is style is, or approach. I would say approach might be a better word, is to go deep and really achieve something. From his case, you can see he actually won a world champion and a state medalist as well. And AMY qualifier, that's high level as well. So you have to really achieve something. That's the key.
Absolutely. I'm going to give another example now. This is someone who's well-rounded. So this student was accepted to Northwestern. That's the only result that we have because they applied early decision. So after they received their result, they withdrew their applications. So we don't know what other schools they would have been accepted to, but I think they would have done quite well. And if they got into Northwestern, that shows they would have done well. So let's talk about their activities. First things first, they did summer research in biology. They were the captain of their soccer team, the president of their school's robotics club, the Spanish club president, the gardening club board member, and they were in jazz band. So I look at this and I say, what on earth do these have in common? This is all over the place. But they were able to talk about how everything they did, they really enjoyed. And more importantly, they were able to connect to biology. So that was one of their intended majors. And they spoke about how, for example, on their team sports, so on soccer, as well as on robotics, which was team-based, and the band, which was team-based, they learned how to work with others, which they brought to their biology research lab, and that helped them make really good research collaborations with faculty when they were doing this work. Similarly, all these different things are connected to biology. So, for example, in the Spanish club, they actually brought attention to science. In gardening club, they led an initiative to help reduce invasive species and replace them with native plant species, which is related to biology. And in robotics club, they had this really wonderful parallel about how they noticed that the robots they were designing were based on features of human biology and how that was super fascinating to them. So everything they did, they were able to connect back into their interest. It didn't come out of nowhere.
And thank you again for your valuable time to join our webinar tonight. And while you type in your question, and we want to introduce our Facebook group. It's called Everything About Getting into College. I know it's a lame name, but I already created and I cannot change the name, so we will have to stick with it. So please join our Facebook group, and Emily and I are in the group as well. And we will share insights, information, knowledge, articles about how to get into college. That's exactly what we are going to do in the group, Everything About Getting to College. Please scan the barcode and join the group. And if you have any question, you can post in the group as well. And Emily and I are more than happy to answer your question in the group.
And before you go, we just want to let you know about our next webinar, which is 2 weeks from today, April 18th at 8 p.m. And so same time, same place. And we are going to be talking about how to plan your summer, about how to plan your summer programs and activities. This is such an important topic. There's so much to say about it. We almost tried to include it in this webinar, and then we realized it could be a whole separate webinar. So stay tuned to learn about that.